Excellent report, Vince.
Let's do a better show.
Better than Raw?
Yes.
Or better than our own show?
Well, we've been trying that for a while. Monday Nitro, I neglected to write down the episode numbers. September 20th. Do either of you have the episode number?
I do not have the episode number.
I want to say it was 205.
I don't think it was 205.
Was it live? No.
Yeah, it was, actually.
Oh. Had a replay of the Sting video, the same one from last week, but still awesome. What was once colorful and vibrant is now cold, calculating, and dark. Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis.
Hey, I want to mention first, we had a recap of everything that happened last week.
Yep. Okay.
And it was actually really good.
You have to get people up
Like,
to date.
do you remember anything that happened last week?
Of course not.
No, but when the show opened, they reminded me of everything that happened last week, and I was like, that's right, I remember that.
Yes.
Good work.
Yeah. Thumbs up for Nitro.
I mean, it's a television show. It's episodic.
Yeah.
Show us what happened in the last goddamn episode.
They sent Bischoff home, and now things make sense.
Right. Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio and Kidman.
Do you notice, by the way, that the last 2 weeks of shows since I got rid of Eric Bischoff have opened with a hot match and not two random nobody geeks out there boring the shit out of the audience?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you want a really hot match to start a wrestling show. It's crazy.
So I know I've been watching Ray for like 6 months now without his mask, but it suddenly just occurred to me how weird it is. I'm watching him without his mask here, and he's masked again now in 2018.
I do.
Are there any other luchadors who've done this, who unmasked and just put the mask back on?
I'm sure it's happened, but it's.
I know guys put on different masks.
When I went to All In, the show was over. We went backstage, and there's Rey Mysterio without his mask on. Mm-hmm. I was like, weird. I could surreptitiously take a photograph of this. Then I realized,
Everyone knows.
this is not a secret.
No. So the match was a parade of big moves, and they all looked cool, and the crowd loved everything they did. Mm-hmm. Kidman goes up top. Hoovy shoves him off. Psychosis is a dropkick for the win.
There was a point here where Psychosis picked up Rey Mysterio Jr. for a powerbomb while Juventud was coming off the top rope with a leg drop. He was so high in the air when they dropped him. It was awesome.
So Kidman goes after Psychosis' mask. Who should make the save but Chavo?
Chavo.
So Chavo's there. The filthy animals are all out there, but Chavo blows them off. He leaves with Hoovy and Psychosis. Psychosis cuts a promo in Spanish, and then Chavo says, I will translate. I speak Spanish. Kidman, my friend Psychosis just challenged you to a mask versus hair match. And Psychosis says, what?
So they didn't really explain this, but this is what I got out of it. Because I like writing my own storylines when they don't explain it.
Fantasy book actual segments?
Yeah, so what happened was Kidman went after Psychosis' mask, okay? So outside, Psychosis is screaming at Kidman about going after his mask. Chavo is a gringo. Mm-hmm. He knows very little. He knows as much Spanish as you.
Sure.
Okay, he heard mascara, and so he said, I'll translate, thinking that a challenge had been made.
Okay.
But he doesn't speak Spanish, so he's just making shit up. And so he issues a challenge for mask versus hair for next week,
right?
Which catches Psychosis completely off guard.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't speak English, but he knows mask and hair.
Yes, and now it is official. Well, and by the way, Psychosis had lost his mask in Tijuana like a week or two earlier.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So that's why they did this here, not at the pay-per-view.
Also, Chavo must be working out with Eddie because he's put on about 10 to 15 pounds.
Gotten bigger. Chavo was also telling Psychosis, trust me, over and over again, like he had some plan.
Well, spoiler. You know what's funny is when they were announcing this, I had totally forgotten that they like unmasked Psychosis.
I had too.
Yeah.
That's how completely irrelevant this unmasking is.
Yeah. Recap of Sid and Goldberg going back and forth from last week, and then we had Brian Knobbs versus Goldberg.
This segment was awesome.
Love this.
First of all, it was. I love Brian Knobbs and Jimmy Hart cutting cheap heat promos just to make sure Goldberg gets cheered.
Not only that, but I loved when he used the line that the Bengals got squashed in this town.
Yes.
Wrestling terminology.
Yes. So I bet if he goes to Devilry games, I bet if he talks about squashes all the time. So Goldberg comes out. Knobbs starts hitting him in the head with a chair repeatedly. Not a DQ. They get in the ring. Goldberg whips him into the ropes as hard as he possibly can. He's never speared anyone half as hard as he whipped Knobs into the ropes here.
He couldn't keep up being thrown across the ring. He almost tripped.
So
That's what makes Goldberg great.
it is. The megaphone gets used, also not a DQ. And finally, Goldberg just shrugs off everything, spear, jackhammer, pin.
Almost lost him on the jackhammer, but saved it because he's a beast.
Because he's Goldberg. So, massive success. Everyone's cheering their brains out and going crazy. And then it's time for Goldberg to cut a promo. And he takes a brief second to catch his breath. He's just starting to glisten with sweat, breathing just a little bit harder than usual, but he is William the Perfect Gentleman. Talking to Sid here. Says,
Well, it's good to have two gentlemen facing off.
it is actually.
Mr. Goldberg and Mr. Sid.
I'm just watching this promo, and all I can think is, why is this man not world champion right now? I mean, they screwed up and took the title off him. Fine. You don't have to keep the title off him all the time. Why is he not in the main event right as we
Well,
speak?
there's a new regime right now.
I guess.
And I'm sure that in their minds it was, well, we're going to get this belt back on this guy.
I suppose.
I hope. I give them a little credit.
So Goldberg says, Sid, I'm going to give you 5 weeks.
And everybody boos.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. If Sid had come out and said I needed 5 weeks, that would make sense. Why is Goldberg waiting more than a month?
Well, he wants to get in shape.
I see.
I'll explain it later.
Well, it is Halloween Havoc, so that's the challenge he wants. He wants Goldberg, or he wants a Sid at Halloween Havoc. Had a recap of Benoit beating Malenko last week.
I like all these recaps.
Sure.
It's good stuff.
Nothing wrong with that.
Remind me what happened on the last show.
Don't expect everyone to take notes and have them open.
And even if they do, expect them to remember.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mean Gene interviews Flair, so he's all crazy. Says, I'm ready to get beat up by Sting and Luger. Wants them later. Benoit interrupts. He says he wants Sting first.
Well, he's got a match.
He has a contract because he beat Malenko last week. He gets a world title match. And he's got the contract with him, and he's making his point, and he's speaking to the camera, and the promo's fine. There's nothing wrong with this promo. But Flair's in the ring, and I think Flair felt I can make this better. And so he goes into crazy Flair mode. I want Sting out here right now. Sting, Sting, Sting.
He's ignoring Benoit.
Yeah. So Benoit, at 35 minutes and 5 seconds into the show, I'm telling you that so you can all go watch this. Benoit calls Flair's name, and the hard camera's on Flair. And he does the best cartoon double take whip around to look at Benoit off the ramp.
Yes.
It's awesome. I watched it like 5 times. So Benoit repeats himself, basically. He says this whole promo over again. He wants his title match tonight, and Flair says, I'm going to go find Sting. The Nitro Girls auditions.
Oh, God. Keisha Simpson and Robbie Spencer. Death TV, move on.
I'm into that whole performing thing, one of them said.
Yeah.
My note from here is, they're talking about how hot these girls are, and the video ends, and there's this random shot of the crowd, and there's a sign. I forget what the sign said, but the girl in front of the sign is hotter than either of the Nitro Girls.
Hey, all I know is there's no Ricky Rackman after last week when he screamed, no ugly chicks! No ugly girls! They got rid of him.
Chris Benoit versus Sting.
This is a great match.
It's a hell of a match. You know the funny thing about it? Sting was the babyface until the very end.
Well,
No, you're right.
how many times in his career at this point had Sting actually been a heel?
It had been at least a decade.
He was trying
Like
really
the
hard.
UWF was the last time.
He was really trying hard, but he was out of his element.
He had not been a heel since before the first Starrcade.
Yes.
The bad thing was,
I'm sorry. His
Not the first Starrcade.
His first Starrcade.
Yeah.
the bad thing was the crowd
First pay-per-view. Sorry.
still sees him as a baby.
Yeah, they're still cheering for everything. Benoit keeps bailing, and Sting stays in the ring and howls, and everyone cheers. Eventually, Sting hits him in the balls for the heat. Uses a gourd buster, which I don't remember him ever using before. He finally misses the top rope splash and the stinger splash, and Benoit does his comeback. The ref gets bumped, and Chris Benoit hits the worst, and I can assume the only pile driver of his career.
Oh, it's horrible.
It sucked.
It was bad, but it was mostly Sting just letting go and just hanging upside down in the air.
It reminded me of, I once was watching a Bruiser Brody match, and Brody was a madman, and not everyone who worked with him knew if they could trust him. And at one point, he went to do a pile driver, and the guy did not trust Brody to protect him. It did a full sit-up, so Brody ended up essentially doing a sit-up powerbomb onto his own legs. That's pretty much what Benoit did here with Sting. So, no ref, and then Lex hits Benoit with a baseball bat.
Well, first, Benoit did hit a German and had the visual pinfall over Sting.
Yes.
He had him beaten.
And then in the German,
Yes.
Lex hits him right in the abs with a baseball bat. So Flair attacks Lex. Sting gets the pin. The ref comes back. Lex is in the corner with a baseball bat as the ref counts 3. Flair attacks Lex, DDP, and Sting.
Who was a
join
ref,
in.
by the way? Oh, Nick Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, competent.
So it was funny. They announced the trios match earlier. It's going to be Hogan, Flair, and Hart against Lex, DDP, and Sting. So here's the whole heel team beating up Flair, and Hogan makes a save by himself, chases them all away. And it was dumb, but it was a very good match and a very fun segment. And just as they're about to go away, Tony Schiavone's talking about the baseball bat hit to Benoit's abdomen. And he says, that could break a spleen. I mean, he's probably right.
His ribs could give out.
Ribs could give out.
By the way, Flair took a diamond cutter from DDP.
Yeah, he did.
And he did not bump flat on his stomach, nor did he bump on top of his head. He did a full flip, taking the diamond cutter. I always love... Flair has a certain kind of match, and every now and then he gets pulled out of his match, and some weird spot happens with him. Like if you remember at Club Lavella when Rey Mysterio gave him a top rope Hurricane Rana.
Yeah.
Right.
Watching Ric Flair take a bump for that is fucking hilarious. He does a flip, lands flat on his back like a dead man. That's how he sold it.
Yeah.
Here he's taking a diamond cutter, and he takes a flip. Who the fuck takes a flip for a diamond cutter? He made it work. It looked like he was dead.
Yes.
I love Ric Flair.
Scott Armstrong versus Berlin.
Not bad, but impossible to care.
Way too long. All I can think is, dude, it's the Road Dogg's brother's other brother. Just pin him. Went forever. Wall. The best part of the match was actually the wall. Armstrong's like hanging on the ropes.
That's a wrestler, everybody. The wall.
The wall. Yeah.
In case you haven't been paying attention.
The Armstrong's hanging on the ropes. Berlin takes the ref, and the wall cocks his fist, and he takes a step closer, and a step closer, and a step closer, and he's almost in punching range. And then the ref catches him, and he looks at the ref, and he puts his fist down, and he steps back. So like 10 more minutes go by. Armstrong's on the ropes again. Berlin takes the ref again. This time Wall just punches him, and Berlin hits his neck breaker and wins. And then the Road Dogg's other brother's brother makes the save.
Brad Armstrong with no mullet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That was the one thing he had going for him. Now he's just a fella.
The Deadpool had a meeting. Shaggy 2 Dope has a Cruiserweight Championship match tonight.
Yeah,
Yes.
he does.
They were giving a pep talk and advice, and Violent J says, there should be me in there. And Vampiro just looks at him and says, you're not a cruiserweight.
And pats his belly.
And pats his belly.
All he did to say, you're too fat.
Had a recap of Flair's return last week. Mean Gene brought DDP out for a promo.
I gotta say something about this. It was just a classic heel promo, like pushing all sorts of buttons. He broke out, you love me, you hate me, you'll never forget me. He says, nobody has done more for professional wrestling than DDP has.
Hey.
And at first I was like, this is just preposterous. But I really thought about it, and he has not done more for professional wrestling than, for example, Vince McMahon. Okay? But if you look at all of the lives in this business that he actually has had a positive influence on through his yoga, he actually has done more for pro wrestling than like 95% of people.
He's done more for pro wrestlers.
Sure,
than
yeah.
pro
So he could cut this promo today, but not 19 years ago.
Well, now it'd be almost a babyface promo.
I just like where he talked about how Flair was old and should retire in 1999.
Yeah.
At this point, the announcers were running their mouths for a while, and suddenly something got edited out.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird.
I can only imagine. He says, the diamond cutter is up here, and the figure 4 is down here. And the fans are furious at this line. I was like, God, I miss wrestling fans.
Yes,
Like
actually.
legit fans that love wrestling.
Yes. Blitzkrieg versus Evan Courageous, with the winner getting a title shot against the winner of the championship match. And then it occurred to me, the top 4 cruiserweights in this company right now are Blitzkrieg, Evan Courageous, Lenny Lane, and Shaggy 2 Dope.
Who the shit put this match together?
I don't know.
Probably Blitzkrieg because it was nothing but spots.
No, I'm talking made the match. Someone said, let's put Blitzkrieg and Evan Courageous in the ring together.
I don't know.
The blind leading the blind. It was actually better than I expected, but it was
not good.
bad.
There was no transition in between high spots.
Nothing.
No, they did a bunch of flips. The crowd was chanting boring.
They did a forward drop slap which sounds like something Granny would call.
Sure.
That's what they called it, a forward drop slap.
Well, and Bobby
What the
Heenan's,
fuck is that?
in Heenan's defense, as he pointed out, it's hard to call a match because you can't remember 800 moves.
That's true. Fans chanted boring.
Yeah. So Evan hits a corkscrew splash. Comes off the top rope, corkscrew splash.
Sure.
Makes the cover. Ref counts 1. The ref counts 2. Blitzkrieg's shoulder shoots up.
Yep.
And the ref shakes his head and counts 3.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
You're done. This is the finish. I'm counting 3.
I just loved also the fans are so over this match that they're chanting boring. And then Sid finally comes out and they're mad at that as well.
Yes.
They just didn't want anything at this point.
So Sid kills him, of course, adds to his streak.
Killed Blitzkrieg with a powerbomb.
Mm-hmm.
Says he accepts Goldberg's challenge for Halloween Havoc, but between now and then, we're going to play by my rules.
He says, and this is clearly why Goldberg chose Halloween Havoc. Sid says, and I quote, "At Halloween Havoc, the scariest night in the world, I'm going to give you what you think you want." So Halloween is the scariest night in the world.
Sure.
Well, not Halloween. Halloween Havoc.
No, Halloween Havoc is the scariest night in the world.
Right.
This is very, very bad grammar,
True.
but I loved it. How did he win worst on promos? Just mind-blowing.
He says Goldberg,
Not the scariest night of the year.
no.
Oh, in the
The
world.
scariest night in the world.
Maybe he's talking about a medieval character.
The fuck is he talking about?
A night with a K.
Sure.
Dude, does that mean we get
I
Sid in a
hadn't
suit
thought
of
of
armor?
that. I hadn't thought of
Yeah.
that.
He's on a steed with a helmet. And
So he explains that between now and then, Goldberg cannot get within 10 feet of him, and he also adds Goldberg has to do whatever Sid says.
Yeah.
So are we gonna get like when Jimmy Garvin and Sunshine had to go to the Von Erichs ranch?
Sure.
Is there a segment where Goldberg has to go clean Sid's place?
I'd be down with that.
that would be amazing television.
Had a Revolution video. It's nice they're trying, but this group is it's death.
No, it's death.
They need to go somewhere else.
Which is amazing, because you swap out Shane for Eddie, which granted is obviously a massive upgrade, but suddenly the Radicals are awesome. Perry Saturn versus Eddie Guerrero in what was more or less a lumberjack match with all the gangs out there. And the crowd is like, they're politely applauding, but they're not feeling this match.
It was a good match, though.
It was fun. Well, Eddie was awesome. Actually, Saturn was awesome as well. But they didn't really care about it. So Saturn goes after Conan. A big brawl breaks out on the floor. Shane hits Eddie with a chain. Saturn sees this, and he is pissed. But he eventually decides what the hell, makes the cover, wins anyway.
Smart man.
Mean Gene calls out Hogan. I will never get tired of hearing Hogan say, "I'm going to train, say a prayer, and kick your ass."
He said kick your ass 30 times in this promo. More than he said brother.
And the more he said it, the happier it made him.
He loves to say the word ass.
I'm going to kick your ass.
By the way, in that last match, Shane Douglas made it very clear. Saturn, we're not making friends. We're making money.
So, by the way, please tell me that at some point in the past 20 years, there's been a train, say a prayer, and kick your ass t-shirt made.
Hey, you should make one,
Maybe
Vinny.
I will.
You
Maybe I will.
should.
Hulk will sue me.
He ain't going to sue you. How's he going to sue you for that?
I just said where I got the
19
idea.
years ago.
I'll see how it goes.
He also said the 6-man they've got coming up next week.
Yes.
Hogan, Brett, and Flair versus Luger, Sting, and DDT. I can barely even say this. With God on our side.
That's right.
The championship committee signed this match.
Yeah.
With God
The Lord.
on our side. They signed this match for next week.
Yeah.
I couldn't even say it. It's fucking ridiculous. With God on our side, we're going to kick their ass next week.
Yes.
No
got
wonder
that-
Sting is like, this guy's weird.
It's a holy war.
He got that line in 5 times in this promo. It was amazing.
Shaggy 2 Dope versus Lenny
Another amazing match.
for a variety of reasons. Tony Mamaluke hits the ring. He's a huge Lodi mark, but Lodi punches him. They're dragging him away. He's screaming Lodi's name and says, "I've had it!" So Lenny's wrestling Shaggy.
His brother's coming.
Who's his brother?
I don't know. I forget, but that's what he said. Big Mama Luke.
Probably. Oh, it's Vito?
Maybe it's Big Vito.
Probably Vito. So Lenny does a gut wrench powerbomb, almost drops him on his head.
But he didn't.
Managed to, he's alive. It was I know you used the line blind leading the blind earlier, but Lenny was trying so hard. Shaggy was clueless, and Lenny was trying so hard to get him through this match.
I've said this many times. Like, Violent J was much better than Shaggy.
Yes.
But Shaggy made it through this match. He was all right.
When it came time to do stuff, he always did it right.
Yeah, this was way better than that Evan Courageous match with Blitzkrieg.
Yes.
He was on the verge of falling on his head at least.
But he never did.
But he never did.
Understood. But I shrieked a dozen times.
And in between falling on his head, you could hear them having long conversations where they just stood there and talked to each other for a while. So Lodi interfered. It was not a DQ. He jumps in the apron. Shaggy bonks into him, hits his head on the belt, then he hits a schoolboy for the win. Another Nitro Girls video. So me and Gene interviews Rick Steiner. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, when the hell does Scott come back?
It was the exact same thing. Rick's in the ring. Yes. I thought that exact thing. Where's Scott? Like, I know he has a back injury.
Yeah.
But, like, when does he return?
Yeah.
Fucking here he comes.
Rick says, here's Scott. Rick must have heard me 19 years ago. Scott comes out, shows off his arms, talks about sports records, says he's chasing Wilt Chamberlain's record.
It's so amazing. He is cutting a promo talking about wanting to break the fucking record. Mm-hmm. And he's issuing
not the fucking record.
Invite.
The record for fucking.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The invite, any woman, he says, who wants to help, meet me in the back. Yeah. The women are screaming.
Yes.
They're so into this. It's bizarre.
So he says he wants to break Wilt Chamberlain's record of laying with 20,000 women. Says, I'm on pace to break it sometime in January. So as he's now taking the mic, he's all swole, he's got sunglasses on, he's cutting his promo, and Gene behind him is just doing the pinching the temple in his nose and just face palming. Scott invited women backstage to, quote, push the pink pony.
That's what he said.
So after, first priority, of course, was lining up all the hooches he can. That's his words. Right?
Yes.
Then he moves on to Hulk Hogan.
But they cheered. They screamed.
Yes, some of these women wanted to be hooches. Steiner says, when I left, I was the leader of the NWO. I'm back now. There is no NWO. I see Hogan getting cheered. It makes me puke. I promise the Hulk Hogan is going to kiss my ass.
A lot of ass in this.
Did you mention Scott Steiner's shirt?
No, but I should.
It was a vest, basically.
Yeah.
And it had like little grappling hooks.
I think it was a nursing vest.
From one side to the other.
It had a weird, almost medieval theme to it.
Sure.
They were not snaps. They're like
it was
a got his chainmail thing coming.
That's true. It has this big collar.
Maybe he's the knight.
Yeah. Aha. He'd have been a great knight.
Yeah. That's what Sid's scared of.
I'd be scared of Scott Steiner.
Scariest knight in the world.
He's old. I'd still be scared of him.
Canyon versus Booker T. Here's everything I wrote. Canyon does moves, comeback missile dropkick win, definition of average.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't write one word about his horrible haircut.
Canyon?
Oh, God, it was atrocious.
A mullet with bangs?
And that's from me, okay?
Flair versus DDP.
I do have one other thing to say about that match, actually. Okay. You could barely hear it. But Booker hits the missile dropkick, makes cover, says... Yeah. Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
Got the pin. That's the way things used to be.
That's right.
You beat a guy, you thanked him for putting you over.
Buddy once thanked me for pinning him. I don't know what to do. It was the finish, and I covered him, and just, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It was more of a thank you for not hurting me.
That may have been it. Yeah.
Thank you for not killing me, and thank God it's over.
Yeah, that also works. Flair versus DDP. It went 5 minutes. Sting interfered. We got put into figure 4, and Lex used the bat for the DQ.
It was all right, actually.
It was fine, but I mean,
they had very little time.
It was a 5-minute brawl.
So they brawled like
finish.
At the entrances. Yeah. They fought all over the place. They got in the ring. There was a little bit of heat. Figure 4, which is down here. Mm-hmm. Diamond Cutter's up here. Oh, yeah, just making sure you're all paying attention. And then Luger ran in and whacked him with the bat for the DQ.
And then Hulk ran in and he got a bat to the leg.
Yeah, they destroyed his leg with that bat.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. It's Sting and Hogan again at Halloween Havoc. So this is the build for that.
Yep. Well, are you ready, Vinny?
I'm ready.
Brian.
Oh, yes, Rob.
If I may, just to close the loop for the beginning of this segment and to give Vinny a proper introduction, this is the Finishers Report for Nitro episode number 209.
Ah, excellent.
Oh, 209.
I will put that in my own notes.
Thank you, Rob.
You're very welcome.
209. Thank God Rob's here.
All right, you
One
ready?
professional person in the room.
Yes.
Yes, I'm ready. The finishes on this show were clean pin, pin after bat shot, pin after interference, pin even though the shoulder was up, pin after chain shot, pin after accidental belt shot, clean pin, DQ and main event.
Excellent report, Vinny.
Thank you, Brian.
I got a big announcement to make here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We broke the streak today.
What do you mean?
We beat Sid?
No, I have a list of all of the shows that we do. And
Oh, God.
yeah, it's bizarre. Like the last 3 shows that we did
Oh, yeah.
went exactly 1 hour and 11 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's weird.
What are we up to now?
We're an hour and 4 minutes. So we'd really have to stall to get up to 111.
Chill.
And I don't care that much.
Craig, how was work today?
I thought it was weird when I was looking at it. An hour and 11 minutes, 3 straight shows in a row, perfectly at random.
That is strange.
It's weird. Yeah.
Goofy.
It's crazy.
Nutty.
Wacky.
Give my thesaurus. I'm just going to read for 7 minutes.
Kooky.
I'm just kidding. All right, everybody, we're out of here. Check out the video
Unusual.
service. Video.f4wonline.com. Check my Twitter for more. At Brian Alvarez.
Ooh, a good one.
November 3rd, I'll be killing Marco's stunt. Black Label Pro. Make sure you check that out. Praying he lasts that long. He's got a lot of matches coming up. I can't believe he survived Trevor Lee. But anyway, lots of stuff coming up, so check it out, everybody. And that is it. We will talk to you again after... Fuck it. A while.
Good night.
Adios.